scared of Sean and was scared that he was going to kill her.
And that was in the weeks, how, estimate the amount of time between that and the discovery of the body that conversation occurred?
Probably about 2 or 3 weeks.
And did you in fact lend her your phone?
I did.
And did she in fact create a Facebook profile on your phone?
Yes.
And what did you do with that information?
After she done it, she asked if she got a message if I would take it to her and let her see it, and I never did. I just deleted it.
Okay. And why'd you do that?
I just didn't want to be involved.
Okay.
And your objection?
Okay. And so it looks like to me that it would fall under that exception because it does say admissibilities of the statement made by the declarant concerning his or her state of mind, emotion, sensation, or physical condition at that time. She could not say, for example, he hit me last week or he did something to me last week, but her testimony is limited to just her present sense impression of I'm afraid. So I will allow her to testify in regard to that. Is there anything else you want to get from her?
I do, Judge. She also heard the disturbance in
Go ahead and
do you want to go into that?
I do.
And so when the body was discovered, first off, you did not know Jennifer Paxton.
No.
Had you ever seen Jennifer Paxton based on the media photos that you saw?
On the pictures online, yes, I've seen them.
Had you ever seen her before at your apartment?
No.
Okay. And with regard to that, did investigators come out and talk to you about anything you might have observed
Yes.
or heard?
Yes.
And did you in fact give a statement,
Yes.
both orally and in writing,
Yes.
and provided that to the police?
Yes.
And with regard to that, what was it that you heard in terms of what activity over there at your neighbor's house that caused you concern to report to the police?
Well, it sounded like a fight maybe going on over there. We heard a lot of beating and banging, commotion, kind of like stuff being thrown around.
Okay.
It started in the living room, and then it had moved to the kitchen just very briefly, and then back into the living room.
Okay. And do you recall telling police, or do you recall when this occurred?
It was around the time of Christmas.
Okay. And you know it was around time of Christmas because?
My tree was up.
Okay. And that, the noise that you heard, you said that it also went to the kitchen. Did it eventually go someplace else?
Yeah, it started in the living room, moved to the kitchen very briefly, went back to the living room, then it got kind of quiet for not a very long period of time, and then I heard it upstairs in the bedroom again.
Okay.
And then it wasn't long after the commotion in the bedroom that I started hearing a bed hitting the wall, like they were having sex, and I heard that over the next few days at just various times in the day.
Okay. And this activity that you're talking about, throwing things around, you described as a fight that you thought was going on over there?
Yes.
You consider calling the police?
I didn't.
Did you consider calling the police?
I mean, it crossed my mind.
Okay. Why didn't you?
Because it wasn't my business.
Okay. And did you consider calling them?
I considered going over there and asking them to stop making all that noise because my baby was trying to sleep.
Okay. And that was your concern?
Yes.
And with regard to that, also you said that for the next few days, you also heard commotion over there?
Just the next few days was just strictly the bed hitting the wall is all I heard.
Okay. And that was upstairs?
Yes.
Above your apartment?
Yes.
And you share an adjoining wall with the defendant's apartment?
Yes.
And you're familiar with the floor plan of their
I am.
apartment? And you know that that was coming from a bedroom?
Yes.
And which bedroom was it coming from?
The main bedroom.
Okay, the master bedroom?
Yes.
And that occurred for over how many days?
About 3 or 4 days.
Okay, and did you ever hear anything after that?
After that, nothing.
Was there any other trouble in the time that you had stayed there? You said you'd been there a year?
Yeah,
that you'd had?
the entire time I lived there, I never heard any kind of noise like that except for that week or so.
Okay. And that's the
Okay.
remainder of the proof that we...
All right. We'll bring the jury in. If you can bring them in, please.
Yes, sir.
Everybody rise, please. Thank you. Have a seat. I can reflect all our jurors have returned. Good morning. Hope all of y'all are doing well. Hope you had a pleasant evening. And ma'am, I think you were testifying yesterday for us. Could you tell us your name again?
Kelsey Coons.
And I think I previously put you under oath, correct?
Yes.
All right, and questions from the state?
Ms. Coons, I think where we left off, we had exhibit number 10 that you had drawn where your apartment is in relation to the defendant's apartment. Judge, do you have the exhibits or do we have?
I do, I think the left.
Could I have exhibit 3, 5, and 10?
Thank you. Give them.
May I approach to it?
Sure.
Ms. Coons, you've prepared exhibit number 10. That's the exhibit I'm going to show you from yesterday. You recall that, right?
Yeah.
And you have marked on there KK for Kelsey Coons.
Yes.
And you have marked on and you've already told the jury that your apartment was a 1-bedroom, 1-floor, and his apartment was the immediate next apartment to your apartment.
Yes.
And you also know the floor plan or layout of their apartment and your apartment.
Yes.
Okay. And so, in terms of shared wall space, what rooms share the wall space in between that separate your apartment from their apartment? What is the room on the other side?
My living room, it would have been his living room on the other side, and upstairs would have been his bedroom, the the master bedroom.
Okay.
My kitchen, the other side of my kitchen would have been his kitchen, and above that would have been the other room.
Okay, so both your kitchens share a wall and your living room share a wall.
Yes.
When you say that there's a master bedroom above your living room, his master bedroom, you're talking about Finnegan's apartment.
Yes.
Is there a second bedroom in that?
Yes.
And where is that above?
Directly across from his bedroom.
Okay. Is that above the kitchen?
Above the kitchen, yes.
Okay. And so, with regard to that, I also see that there's maybe a chimney sticking up out of there in between the two apartments?
Yeah.
Tell the members of the jury about that.
That would have been in between mine and his living rooms.
Okay. Do you have a fireplace in yours?
We did.
Okay. And on the other side, it would share that chimney, a fireplace on the other side?
I imagine so.
Okay. I'm going to now show you what have been marked for identification as exhibit number 3. I'm sorry, these are actually in evidence, exhibit 3 and exhibit 5. Take a look at those if you would. Back in August actually August 5th, did you become aware that something had happened next door to you in that apartment that we're talking about, that Sean Finnegan was in?
Yes, when I seen it on the news. Yeah.
Okay. That's how you learned of it?
Yes.
Were you there when things happened, when the police came and
No.
came into the residence?
No.
What were the circumstances of you not being there?
I had actually stayed at either my mother's or my grandmother's house that night.
Okay. So,
And when I came back the next day and was looking on my phone was when I seen everything, and I was like, oh my gosh.
Hey, just speak up in the microphone a little bit, please.
yeah, I'm kind of standing to her right. Let me move back and I'll.
I had stayed at my mother's or my grandmother's house. They lived side by side, so I can't remember which one I stayed at.
But not in Oak Ridge.
Not in Oak Ridge.
Okay.
When I had come back home the next day is when I had seen everything on the news app on my phone.
Okay. And it made a lot of attention in the news?
Yeah.
And there were victims of, or rather pictures. Were there pictures in social media?
1 second. He objects, let me rule. I'll sustain. Next question.
Did you see photographs of the victim?
Yes.
Do you recognize the victim from exhibits number 3 or 5? Do you know this person?
I don't know her, but I know of her from seeing it on the news.
Okay. Did you ever see this person at the apartment?
No.
Or the apartment complex?
No.
Okay. So that was a surprise?
Yeah.
Okay. But prior to you finding out through social media, you had already told the jury that you'd had a couple of different interactions with the occupants next door, Mr. Finnegan and Ms. Dishman.
Yes.
And how many times would you say you had interactions with Rebecca Dishman?
Just a handful of times, not a lot.
Okay. And you described her yesterday for the jury?
Yeah, she seemed
I'll sustain.
she seemed like a
Go
sweet.
ahead. No, man, you stop. He's going to ask you another question.
Okay.
Go ahead.
What did you describe her for the jury as yesterday?
As she was a sweet girl.
Okay.
She seemed kind of slower and, nervous, real nervous. I don't know.
And did you have a conversation with her in the couple of weeks before you discovered that something had happened next door?
Yes.
Tell the jury the circumstances under which that conversation occurred. First off, where did it occur?
On my front porch.
Okay. And who was present for the conversation?
Me and Rebecca.
And anybody else within earshot?
No.
And what did that conversation tell the members of the jury? What was that conversation?
She was just talking about how she was scared of Sean, was scared that he was going to kill her. She wanted to use my phone to make a fake Facebook profile to try and find a ride to get away from him.
How did you react to that?
I let her make a fake Facebook profile on my phone, and
So you physically gave her your phone?
yes,
And you're a Facebook user?
I was, yeah.
So you had the app already on your phone?
Yes.
And explain that if you would. You just create a different person on the phone?
Actually, no, I take that back. I haven't had the Facebook app on my phone in a while. I let her do it through Chrome.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Explain that for us if you would. You let her do what through Chrome?
Go to Facebook and make a Facebook.
Okay. So she accessed essentially through the internet?
Yes.
Okay. And do you know what the name of the profile she created?
Luna Dishman.
Okay. And what was her stated purpose for creating that profile?
To try and find a ride to get out.
I'll overrule based on our previous rule.
What was her stated reason for creating that profile?
Because she wanted to try and find a ride to get away from Sean.
Okay. And did you believe her?
I did. I kind of thought she was exaggerating a little bit on the she was afraid he was going to kill her part, but after seeing everything I did, I don't think she was exaggerating at all.
Objections.
I didn't really hear that. Yeah, say that again.
I said at first I thought she was exaggerating a little bit on she was scared he was going to kill her, but after seeing everything on the news, I don't think she was
I'll
exaggerating.
sustain that. Disregard what you saw in the news. Go ahead.
Do you regret your actions at all and how you reacted to her statement to you?
Objection, Judge, I'm not sure the relevance.
Sustain.
Did you notify the police?
No,
Why not?
because it wasn't my business.
But the police eventually came to you, is that right?
Yes.
After things came into the news and the media that something had happened next door, right?
Yes.
It's a foundation, Judge, and it's not suggesting a response.
The way this works is, he makes an objection, I'll ask you for a response if I want one, okay? I'll overrule the objection. Go ahead. You can answer, or I guess you already answered. So next question.
Was there something that the police came to your residence and talked to you about the case, right?
Yes.
And you, in fact, did you give a statement to police?
I told them that I had heard the beating and banging on the walls.
Okay. And let's go ahead and talk about that. What were the what were the police there asking you about?
Just if I had seen Jennifer or seen anything, just the basic questions.
Okay. And with regard to your interaction with the neighbors, you've already told us individually, was there anything unusual that had happened over there at the apartment while you were living there
I mean, like with...
that you conveyed to the police?
Just the beating and banging on the walls.
Okay. We'll get to that. Had there ever been anything other, when we're talking about this, the beating and the banging, what was it that you were alerting the police to?
That was it.
Okay. And let's describe it. When did this occur?
Just a day or two after. When did what occur? I'm sorry.
Okay. I'm being confusing. I get that. I'm sorry. Shortly after you learned in the media that something had happened next door, the police came and asked you about activity next door, right?
Yes.
Okay. And in response to their questions, you provided a statement.
Yes.
And you told them the truth about what things that had happened over there, right?
Yes.
And you told them about the incident between Rebecca?
Yes.
Okay. But you also told them about another incident that occurred prior in the past while they were neighbors.
Completely leading now.
It's laying the foundation for what she's
Still leading, suggesting an answer. I'll overrule. Go ahead.
You also told them about an incident that occurred in the past that alerted you or alarmed you about something that went on over at the apartment next door.
Yes.
Okay, let's get specific about that. What happened that caused you to tell the police about that incident? What was it that first alarmed you? First starting with, what time of year was it?
It was around Christmas
Okay, and how do you know it was around Christmas?
because my Christmas tree was still up.
All right, and we talked a little bit about this yesterday in terms of your habits and your customs and whatnot. You put your Christmas tree up when?
Right after Thanksgiving,
Okay, and you take it down usually,
about a week or two into January.
okay, so we're talking about that time frame is when this occurred?
Yes.
And over what time period did what we're talking about occur? Days, weeks?
Objection
Just-
asked and answered.
I'll overrule, but let's just let her tell the story.
It happened.
Rephrase your question. Tell us what happened.
Go ahead and tell us what made you concerned about what was going on next door.
Well, I heard what sounded like a fight next door originating in the living room. We heard beating and banging,
What specifically did you hear?
like just a bunch of commotion, like stuff being slung around. I mean, just like a fight going on.
Okay. In which room of the house?
The living room, right behind my fireplace.
And how long did that go on, the beating and the banging and the commotion?
I can't say for sure. I mean, for a little while.
And do you recall what time of the day it was?
I don't know exactly for sure the time of day, but I want to say around anywhere between 11 and 1
Okay.
p.m.
And your baby, at the time, did he or she, is it he or
She.
she? Did she sleep at any particular time?
Yeah, she took a nap early in the morning, then she took a nap usually around 11, 12.
Okay. And did this commotion cause you concern about that in any way?
She was sleeping at the time that it was going on, so I just didn't want her to get woke up.
Okay. And so the commotion that you're hearing about, the beating and banging, that's right in the living room. What happens after that?
Then I heard it move to the kitchen just very briefly, and then it moved right back to the living room. And
Okay.
then not long after that, it got silent for a few minutes. And then just a short time passed, and I heard a little bit more commotion upstairs in the bedroom, the main master bedroom. And
How did you know that?
what do you mean?
How'd you know it was a master bedroom versus, you knew it was upstairs, how did you know it was one versus the other?
Because I lived in a building just like that, so I know the layout of the room,
Okay.
of the building.
And so you're told the jury you hear it in the master bedroom, then what happens next?
After I heard the commotion for a minute, it wasn't long until I was hearing like a bed hitting the wall, like someone having sex.
Okay. And is that what you interpreted it as?
Yes.
And how long did that go on?
That went on for a little while, and then over the next 3 or 4 days, it was various times of the day that I would hear the bed hitting the wall. I can't tell you exact times, I don't know.
Okay, and as a result of that, how many days would you say it lasted?
About 3 or 4 days.
Okay. From the beginning of when you first heard commotion in the living room to the end was 3 or 4 days?
Yes.
Okay. Did you consider, or what was your intent on doing with regard to the noise? How were you going to respond?
I mean, I wasn't.
What did you consider doing?
I considered walking over there and telling them to stop.
I'll sustain. Not relevant what you consider doing. So next
Well-
question.
Were the police ever involved?
No,
Why not?
I never called.
Because why?
I never called the cops.
Why not?
It wasn't my business.
Okay. What did you conclude was happening over there in the living room?
Concluded.
What do you say?
What did you conclude was happening over there, based on all the different types of noises you were hearing?
I'll sustain the objection. Speculation.
Do you know whether or not Mr. Finnegan was home at that time?
I don't know.
Do you know whether or not Miss Dishman was home at that time?
Probably she was always at home.
Okay.
Thanks, sir.
Yes, sir.
Question?
Yes, please.
So the first time you talked to the police was after the commotion at the house as far as they were arrested?
Yeah,
Properly.
after they were arrested was when I had talked to the police.
Okay, and you'd seen some stuff on TV
Yes.
about it? Okay. Did the DA prep you for your testimony today? Prepare you?
Yes.
The DA prepared you for your testimony today?
I talked to them, yes.
Yesterday?
No.
A while back?
Yeah.
Okay. Because when you talked to the police, you didn't tell them any of those details about living room or kitchen or any of that stuff, did you?
No.
Okay. In fact, what you said was that you heard some noise, like
Yes.
banging on the walls.
Yes.
Okay. And you didn't say anything about a bed hitting the wall. You didn't say anything about anybody moving from rooms. You didn't say anything about a pause.
I didn't go into straight detail on what I had said, but I did mention the bed hitting the wall, yes.
Okay. And if you had believed that there had been a murder there, you would have called the police,
Probably, yes.
but you didn't call the police.
Because I thought that it was just Sean and Rebecca having a dispute. Wasn't my business.
That happened before, huh?
That never happened before. I never heard any kind of noise like that before.
So you just assumed that they were having a dispute and banging the wall for hours?
I guess.
Okay. But you don't know if Sean was even there, right?
I don't remember.
Okay. And then earlier you testified that your shift was, 4 a.m. to 1 p.m. at that time?
I was off the day that this happened.
You were off the days this happened?
Mhm.
Okay. And you recall at what time of day it was now? Because you didn't tell the police then.
They didn't ask.
Okay.
I wrote a statement and that was it.
The police didn't ask you what time of day it happened?
I don't remember.
Okay. Did the police didn't ask you whether Sean was there or not back then?
I don't remember.
Okay. Well, you remember a lot of details now.
I've always known the details.
You just didn't feel like telling the police back then?
I didn't think I had to go into great detail on my statement.
Even though a murder took place?
I told the basics of what I heard.
Okay. And they didn't ask you any further? They didn't push you for any detail?
No,
For a murder that happened next door to you, they didn't push you for any detail?
no,
No?
not that I remember.
Okay. And so now you remember all those details and you're saying them, right?
I've always known the details of what I've heard.
Okay. But this is the first time you're saying them in front of people, correct?
Yes, in front of these people, yes.
You didn't tell the police?
No.
You also talked about your relationship with them, and you didn't really have a relationship with the neighbors, right? You never carried on a conversation with Rebecca before then, really, other than hi.
She had come over a couple times
Okay.
and just kind of talked. Can't tell you what we talked about because I don't remember.
Okay, but it wasn't about her being abused, right?
No.
Okay. So, this one day, 2 weeks before all this happened, this one day, she came over to your house and told you that she was scared,
Yes.
right? That she was scared Sean was going to kill her.
Yes.
And you had heard a commotion 9 months before, right?
Yes.
That, banging for hours and all this stuff happening over there, right?
Yes.
And she came over and she told you that she was scared he was going to kill her.
Yes.
And you just thought she was exaggerating.
At that point in time, yes.
Okay. Because that'd been your experience as their neighbor, right? You just thought she was probably exaggerating.
Yes.
Yeah.
At the time, I didn't know that the beating and banging and her coming and telling me she was scared for her life was connected.
Well, you still don't, do you?
Well, no.
Okay. But you've seen some stuff on the news and you've talked to the prosecutor, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Objection, Judge, can we approach?
There we go. Thank you. Any more questions?
So at the time when you heard these noises, the timeline that you say was around Christmas is really just based on the fact you remember that your tree was up,
Yes.
right? So you don't know what day you heard these noises.
No.
You don't know what time of day you heard these noises.
I know it was afternoonish.
Afternoonish, but so it could have been any time in the afternoon, right?
Early morning, between 11 and 1, like I said.
Between 11 and 1.
Yes.
Okay. But you didn't provide that detail before? Today?
No.
Okay. And then again, so when did you put your tree up?
After Thanksgiving.
After Thanksgiving, so that would have been late November,
Yes.
early December.
Yes.
And when did you take your tree down that year?
Either the first or second week of January.
Okay, so it could have been as far as mid-January,
Yes.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So somewhere late November to mid-January, you heard these noises.
Yes.
Sometime a day, you think between 11 and 1 o'clock.
Yes.
Okay. You never called the police.
No.
You had a baby there, right?
Yes.
Were you scared?
I was annoyed.
Thank you, Judge.
Other questions, redirect?
Just briefly.
Sure.
We met before trial, right?
Yes.
And we talked about your testimony,
Yes.
and we provided you a copy of the written statement.
Yes.
And what did we ask you to tell when you came in here?
The truth.
You recross?
Just real quick, 'cause you said that she came over and made up a Facebook page, right? And then did she get a response?
I don't know.
Because you deleted it
This is
immediately.
recross, Judge. This is not subject to
I
license.
agree. All right, thank you, ma'am. You stay in court, free to go.
Thank you.
Have a good day.
You too.
Who's next?
Cole Pico.
Everybody got a pen? We're missing one. We need one more. I'm sorry, my fault. Okay, we're good then. Sir, if you'll step up here next to me, please. Right up here, please. If you'll raise your right hand. Swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Yes.
Thank you. You have a seat there. If you'll speak up to that microphone, that'll help everybody hear. If you'll tell me your first name and last name and spell them both.
Colt Pico, COLTPEKOC.
Questions?
Mr. Pico, you resident of Anderson County, Tennessee?
Yes.
And how long have you lived here?
Wow, 8 years?
8 years? Where are you from? Where do you hail from?
Illinois.
Okay, Chicago, Illinois?
Right outside, yes.
Okay. And where did you live back in 2019?
Florida Avenue in Oak Ridge,
What particular address were you at?
302.
Okay. Who'd you live there with?
My wife and kids,
What's your wife's name?
Mahogany,
And how many kids you have?
2,
How old are they?
15 and 6.
Okay. How long did you live at 302 Florida Avenue?
I don't even know for sure. That's a wife question.
Okay. Years, months?
Yeah,
days?
years.
Years?
Years.
Okay. And what kind of place was 302 Florida Avenue? Single-family residence, multi, tell us.
Yeah, it was
describe
a 2-story quadplex.
Quadplex, as in 4?
Yeah, it's got the 1 bedrooms on the ends and then 2 bedrooms in the middle, and it's 2-story in the middle.
And what did you occupy in the quadplex?
The 2-story in the middle, like if you were looking at it from the street, it'd be the right apartment.
Was your front door facing what road?
Florida Avenue.
Okay. And so, do you have the building behind you, is that owned by the same landlord?
No.
Okay. Different landlords?
Yeah.
But the same landlord for everybody in your fourplex?
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Pico, do you venture out and get to know your neighbors at all?
No.
Why is that?
I grew up in a neighborhood where you don't talk to your neighbors.
Okay.
You don't need to know them.
From Illinois?
Yes.
From Chicago, that's the way you
Yes.
know your neighbors? Okay. And so you pretty much stick to yourself? Is your wife the same personality?
No, my wife's a social butterfly.
Okay. And so in terms of connections or social interactions with neighbors, yours, how would you describe yours versus your wife's?
If I see them, I'll say hi and go on.
Okay.
She talks to them.
Okay. And did you have an opportunity at any point to get to know your neighbors in the building behind you?
Because of my wife, yes.
Okay. So how so?
Partially. Like
What do you mean because of your wife?
well, I don't talk to them. I don't care to know people. And if she talks to them, I end up eventually having to.
Because she befriends them?
Yes.
All right. And moving on specifically to the building behind you, Who did you know were occupants in the building behind you? That is, you're on Florida Avenue. We're talking about the fourplex immediately to your back door.
She knew everybody in that building.
Okay. Was that building similarly situated like yours?
Yeah.
It was like a fourplex?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think ours was a little more modern, like had been renovated through the years a little more,
Okay.
but essentially set up the same.
And specifically, did you have an opportunity to meet a woman named Rebecca Dishman?
Yes.
And what were the circumstances of you meeting Rebecca Dishman?
Her and my wife were friends.
Okay.
They talked and hung out.
And so, tell the members of the jury how much time and opportunity did you have to observe Rebecca Dishman over the course of time that you lived there and that she lived there?
I would see her here and there. On the weekends, she would come over and talk to the wife. That'd be like the only time that I would actually have interaction with her.
But she'd come in your house?
Yeah, she'd
All
come
right.
over.
And you would converse with her?
Yeah.
And you formed an opinion of her?
Yeah.
And what was your opinion of her?
She was simple,
Okay.
kid-like.
Okay. How so?
She just didn't have your typical adult. I don't know. She dressed kid-like. She'd be excited about stuff my kids would be excited about.
Okay.
She was just very simple.
Okay. How about her reaction to other people that you were friends there? Did you notice anything unusual about that?
She would cling to anybody that gave her attention. That was nice to her.
Do you have-
Objection, Judge.
I'm sorry. What was your objection?
Relevance.
All overruled.
You were saying she would cling. Tell us what you mean by that.
I had a friend that was staying with me, and he would just be nice to her in passing, and she thought he was into her.
Objection to what she thought and said.
How did she behave around him?
She would get giddy.
And at this point, are you aware of Sean Finnegan? Do you know what his relationship is with her? At this point?
Yeah, that's her boyfriend.
And Sean Finnegan, is he here in the courtroom?
Yeah.
Point him out for the jury, if you would. Reflect he's pointing to the defendant, Mr. Finnegan.
You did?
You said that he was her boyfriend.
Yeah.
And but you also saw her getting giddy with other
Objection to
people.
leading, Judge. She's testifying.
I'll sustain.
You also observed her behavior.
Yes.
And your characterization of her as simple, why is it that you characterize her in that way?
She
Objection asked and answered.
All overruled.
she seemed like she needed a lot of help in taking care of herself.
Okay.
As in simple, like.
All right. And in terms of her relationship with Sean Finnegan, what did you have? Did you make an opinion at any point about who was the leader in that relationship?
Objection, you just said that he didn't have a whole lot of contact with them.
I'm asking about his knowledge of the relationship.
All overruled.
I would say Sean was in charge. Like,
And do you know specific examples of why you feel that way?
because I've seen firsthand him tell her, "Let's go," and that he doesn't want her there.
Okay. Were there times where she was forbidden from coming to your place?
Yes.
Objection.
By who?
Objection. How does he know that?
I'll sustain.
Well, who were you told by them?
Objection. Hearsay.
If it came from the defendant, then he can say.
Then ask that question, and the defendant ever tell
Defendant ever tell you, or were you ever present when the defendant told her she ain't coming around no more?
Yes.
And would she behave? Would she behave and honor that when he'd say?
To my knowledge, yes.
Okay. May I approach, Your Honor?
Sure. Let the defense see it. Did y'all see this? Okay.
So we're at 11, Your Honor? Mr. Pico, I'm handing you exhibit number 11. And just to tell the members of the jury what exhibit number 11 is.
Looks like a map of Oak Ridge.
And the red dot is,
Looks like where I would live.
and number 12,
Oh yeah, it's the house behind mine.
okay. And if you could sign that Colt Pico
Where would you like me?
anywhere on the document. And exhibit 11 and 12 are maps of the location of where we're talking about.
Yeah.
Your address at 302 Florida. The red marker, however, is on which apartment?
The one directly behind me.
The one Mr. Finnegan lived in?
Yes.
Okay, and if you could just point an arrow to that and put SF to the red dot so the jury knows where we're talking about in town. And you've signed it, Colt?
Yes, sir.
You have, and date it today, August. Okay, and initial exhibit 11 is the location in town. And now handing you exhibit 13, which has formally been introduced in exhibit 10. And this will now be 13. You recognize that?
Yeah, this is my house, my car. That'd be Sean's house.
Judge, can we have it displayed while he's explaining and signing? This is the previously exhibit number 10. Okay, and what we're going to have you do, Mr. Pico, is first off, initial it with your initials. And I'm going to have you sign with the red pen. Why don't you circle where you and Mahogany, your two children, lived? Okay, and then I'm going to have you point to it up in a way to project that on this exhibit. Why don't you, if you could stand down and tell us where you lived.
We lived here in this middle apartment.
And where did the defendant live?
Directly behind us, his back door and our back door lined up.
Okay, and did you know Kelsey Norwood?
I knew her by name and just seeing her.
Okay. Where did she live?
She lived here on this end part.
Okay. And you had a little trouble getting down from the stand there,
Yeah.
Mr. Pico. Tell us, at the time, back in 2019, 2020, were you working?
I was on short-term disability and leave from work at the moment.
You got some back issues?
Yes.
And we would move that, in as 13.
I thought it was already 10.
I'm sorry, Judge, I've marked another one for 13 that's identical as 10, but he's made notations
Okay.
on
All right.
13 here, so.
Okay, 13 it is.
Go ahead and mark it CP, the red circle with it, inside the circle put CP and MP for Colton Mahogany. And then go ahead and circle what you just told the jury where he lived, Mr. Finnegan, with a blue pen, and put SF. So now, Judge, that new exhibit would be Exhibit 13, a replica of Exhibit 10, but Mr. Pico's recollection.
So take 13 and pass it to the jury, please.
So, Mr. Pico, it appears on Exhibit number 13 that you share a driveway in between the two units, is that?
That was not our driveway. That is their driveway.
And where would you park?
My car is the black car out in front of my unit there. We parked on Florida.
I'm going to turn your attention to August 5th of 2020. Obviously, you were living there, same arrangements as we've talked about in Exhibit number 13.
Yeah.
And you, Mr. Finnegan and Ms. Dishman were living behind you.
Yes.
You've already told the jury that your wife had befriended or had a friendship with.
Judge, he's just testifying.
You just can't, well, you can't suggest an answer. Just ask him a question.
Yes, Your Honor.
I know you're trying to speed things up, and I appreciate that. So I'm not being critical of it, but just try to ask him questions, not leading.
You already told the jury that you don't like to get in other people's business, but something happened August 5th of 2020 that you felt you were getting in other people's business. If you can turn your attention to that, okay?
Yeah.
All right. What is it that had been happening in the complex, so to speak, that caused you to be involved in something on August 5th of 2020?
My wife had been trying to help Rebecca get out of the home because my understanding of it was
To what his understanding.
All sustained.
How did you personally become involved in what your wife was fixing to do?
she wanted me to call a shelter.
Objection to what his wife asked him
What-
to do.
Well, wait, that's not,
This is more the effect on the listener.
that's right. That's not for the truth of the matter asserted. It's going to what he did in response to that, so I'll allow that question. Go ahead.
What does your wife ask you to do or participate in?
To find a woman's shelter that she could take Rebecca to.
Okay. And how long had that been going on? That process?
A few months. I called and set something up that day.
Okay. Where?
A shelter in La Follette, I believe,
Why La Follette?
because that was the only one that was open and intaking. I guess that's what you call it.
How did you find this place?
Google.
And who did you speak to?
I cannot remember the woman's name.
What were the circumstances of how you were going to arrange what was going to happen?
She told me that she needed to talk.
I'll overrule what he did in reaction to what her comment was, so not for the truth of the matter asserted. Go ahead.
What were the circumstances of what was going to happen? How was this going to be arranged?
She was going to talk to Rebecca and meet them at a police station with some of Rebecca's belongings.
And that was your personal conversation?
That was my conversation, and then she said that she needed to speak to the victim to make sure that that's what she wanted and that we weren't forcing her to go.
And what did you do to accommodate that?
Told my wife what was needed, and then she took a phone to Rebecca after Sean had left for work.
Why did you take a phone? Why was a phone taken to Rebecca?
Because she was not allowed to have a phone.
And when you said that you did this after Sean went to work, what was Sean's work schedule, if you know?
I know he worked evenings at a pint house.
Okay. And what was the plan? You said what time you were going to, this was all going to happen?
There was no time set to my knowledge when I talked to the lady.
Okay.
That was to be determined after she verified that Rebecca wanted to go.
Okay. And what did you do next in terms of the plan to make this happen?
handed the phone off to the wife and set up that my buddy would let them use his car.
Okay. This complaint that caused you to react this way and to do this thing, had you made any observations in the past that caused you to do this?
I don't want to know. I don't know how long exactly before this, but Rebecca had a black eye and broken glasses from them fighting.
Okay. And you saw that with your own
Yes.
eyes? And as far as the plan for actually getting her to this place, what was that plan?
After Sean was leave for work, she was going to pack all her stuff up that she could take and load it into my buddy Mike's truck or SUV thing, and the wife was going to drive her off to meet this woman at the police station in La Follette.
And did that in fact happen?
That is what happened.
Okay. You mentioned that Rebecca Dishman and the defendant lived in the apartment. You've already told the jury it's directly opposite yours.
Yes.
Out your back door or out your
Yeah.
front door?
Like if you walk out my back door, his back door was like this.
Okay, so they're exactly opposite. They're facing opposite directions.
Yes.
Who else lived in that apartment?
What apartment?
I'm sorry, in Mr. Finnegan's apartment.
His mother
Okay.
lived with him.
And did you have opportunity to observe her?
Yeah.
How old was she?
I'm not for sure how old she was. She was an elderly woman.
Was she around when all these things were happening?
Yes,
And how did you know that?
because she was screaming out the window saying she was calling Sean.
Okay. Screaming out the window when what was happening?
When Rebecca was loading her stuff into the back of Mike's car.
Okay. Why would she be saying that?
No idea.
I'll sustain.
But nonetheless, she was screaming.
Yeah, she was gonna notify Sean.
Hearsay, what she yelled out.
I'll overrule.
Well, what happened after she yelled something out?
Shortly after that, Sean come pulling in the driveway like a madman.
Okay. And you had all previously testified you had waited until he went to work.
Yes.
Okay. And so he pulled in like a madman, and where were you when he pulled in?
My apartment.
Inside?
Yes.
Were your kids there with you?
Yes.
Okay. And what did the defendant do?
He knocked on my back door and asked me where she took her and told me that I ruined his life and that I had no right to get involved.
Okay. What else did he tell you he's going to?
We had some words and
Go tell the jury, what words did you have?
basically I told him he could go back to his apartment. I don't know where she took him or took her, and he told me that he would kill me.
Did you also, at any point prior to this, did you have any further communication?
Can I borrow your mic? Here we go, ma'am. Now, ladies and gentlemen, while this gentleman's been testifying, if you listen carefully, which I know you did, he's referred to some statements made by another person other than the defendant. Those statements are hearsay. Remember, I defined for you what hearsay was, and they're not to be considered by you for the truth of the statement, but rather only its effect on him
and on the witness in his response to those statements. Does that make sense? So what he heard is hearsay. That doesn't mean it's true. It means he heard this and this is how he says he responded. Got it? Okay. Sorry to interrupt. Go ahead, sir.
You just said that he said he was going to kill you. Did he make any specific ways or threats that he was going to accomplish that?
No, sir.
Okay. With regard to your communication, you had told the jury that you had spoken to the people on the phone, and Rebecca put her on the phone. Did you have any further communication with those folks that you had set up after your
No,
wife
sir.
and Rebecca leave? Okay, and do you have any communication with your wife?
I had talked to her, I believe it was after they had made it to La Follette and they were waiting for the lady.
Okay, so chronologically, tell the jury, did he arrive before or after you spoke to your wife that they'd made it to La Follette?
He had arrived before.
Okay.
I had talked to my wife.
Okay, so he arrives, those words are exchanged, and then you speak to your wife?
Yes.
Okay. And with regard to that conversation with your wife, what do you do next?
I had talked to my wife. She had told me some disturbing things.
Also staying, don't tell me what your wife told you. Okay. Next question.
Yes, Judge, we would assert the same basis that it's the reason that he is going to make the call that the jury's already heard. What he was told by his wife would be non-hearsay.
I'll still sustain the objection.
Okay. Based on a conversation you had with your wife on the phone in
Yes.
La Follette,
I called the
Did you
Oak
do
Ridge
so?
Police Department, and when they showed up, he had made it a point to come from his apartment to the front of my apartment.
okay. What did you tell you called the 911
Yes.
center? Okay. And you reported something to them,
Yes.
and they sent a unit.
Yes.
And where were you while you waited on that unit to come?
In my apartment,
And where was he?
standing on his back porch.
Okay, and how do you know that?
Because my back French doors look straight to his apartment.
All right. And did the police arrive at some point?
Yes.
And where did they park when they arrived?
In front of my apartment.
All right. And so where was the defendant when they parked in front of your apartment?
When they arrived, he come from the back of his apartment, around my building to the front.
Okay, so we're looking at Exhibit 13, I believe it is. The police arrived and parked on Florida?
Yeah, they parked behind the black car on Florida.
Okay. And where is it that the defendant, if you could just point to us on that exhibit, where was it that the defendant, you said he went around?
Yeah,
What were your words?
He come around the end of the apartment.
If I could have him stand down and just show the jury where.
He come around from his driver's to
do you wanna-
East Fairview. He come from his back porch here, down and through here,
Okay.
around.
And why did he come down and around?
No idea.
Okay. Where did you go?
I went to my front porch and talked to the police.
Show the members of the jury your front porch on that exhibit.
This is my front porch.
Okay. And where is he standing when the police arrive?
When they arrived, he was back here. Didn't see him pull up. I'm assuming he seen him pull up. And he come around to
Assuming and
here.
I'll sustain.
Simultaneous to the police arriving, where does the defendant go?
To here.
Okay. In front of your residence?
Yeah.
Towards you?
Towards me and the police.
Okay. And do you convey what happened?
What's that?
What do you say to the police?
I let him know about him knocking on my back door and confronting me about my wife taking him, and then his statement that he was going to kill me.
Okay. And was he within earshot of you when you were talking to the police? Was he
For-
within, you just described a distance that he converged there,
For
right?
the first part of me talking to the police, yes, he was within earshot.
Okay. And did you hear them speak to him?
No, they took him off. One officer left with him around to the side, and one officer stayed with me when I told him the rest of what I had to say.
Okay. Went around the side back towards his apartment?
Yes.
Okay. So you never heard what he said to the
No.
police when he was confronted by your call for
Yes,
service? Okay. And of course, were you present later that evening when the police arrived again?
Yes.
How did this particular situation end? You said you told the jury that the police went around and you were out front on your front porch. How did that particular thing end?
It ended with them saying that they're going to monitor the situation.
Who said what?
I'll sustain the objection.
But the police left.
Yes.
But did they really leave?
No.
Okay. What did you observe in your neighborhood going on from that point on with regard to police activity?
Several different units parking in different locations, watching to see which roads left from the area.
Okay. And were you watching too?
Yeah.
Were you watching the defendant?
Yeah.
And what was he doing during this time?
He was tearing stuff out of his house that my wife had given Rebecca, and tearing it up, throwing it in the trash, and standing there staring at my apartment.
Okay. And how long did this go on before the police that you're, when you said there were police in different places, were they in undercover
Yes,
capacity?
they were in unmarked cars.
And how long did that go on before the police made their presence known?
Several hours. It was 4 o'clock in the morning, I believe, when they went into his apartment.
Okay. So you were present?
Yeah.
And you watched things happen from your own apartment?
Yes.
What did you see him remove from the apartment?
They brought what looked like a body down in a black bag.
What looks like things, and there's going to have police officers testify.
I'll sustain it.
They collected evidence, they took things out of
Yes.
the apartment. Pass it, Mr. Judge.
Next, sir. Cross-examination.
Thank you, Judge. How long did you live as neighbors with Rebecca and Sean?
I don't exactly know how long that. I know that we had lived there before Sean had moved in, and I can't tell you exactly how long they had been going together because I didn't care.
Right, you didn't pay any attention back then.
I didn't.
It wasn't your concern.
No.
Yeah, so how long did Sean live there before Rebecca moved in? A little while.
A little while.
Yeah. A year maybe,
Not sure.
but a while.
Yeah.
Okay. And you said Mahogany was Rebecca's friend, but if Rebecca said that Mahogany was Sean's friend,
She had talked to Sean too.
okay,
She talks to all our neighbors.
okay. But Rebecca said she wasn't Mahogany's friend, that Mahogany was Sean's friend. Would that be a true statement, you think?
No.
I would object to that, that's,
I'll overrule. Go ahead.
You said something about her getting giddy. Was somebody coming around, or was like a?
No, when she would come over to my apartment and my friend would be there, she would get a little more giggly than she would, and she would do obvious signs of like flipping her hair.
Like flirtation type stuff.
I wouldn't call it flirtatious.
Were they male friends? Were your friends male?
Yeah, I'm married.
Okay. Okay, I mean, you can have friends that are girls if you're married, but if they were male friends, she was flipping her hair and flirting, acting giddy.
I wouldn't call it flirting.
But she acted giddy and different
Yeah,
when they were there.
she would laugh more and talk.
You talked about her coming over with black eyes and a broken glasses, and that was from a fight. That's what she told you, right?
Yes.
You didn't see the fight.
No.
That's what she told you.
Yep.
Said she needed a lot of help taking care of herself. Like she just seemed kind of helpless, right? She needed people to do things for her.
Yep.
And she didn't mind asking people to do things for her. And people just kind of wanted to do things for her.
Yes.
Right. And so, while y'all lived there, you guys had like Thanksgiving dinner together at some point too, didn't you?
Yes, my wife is very nice.
Yeah. Did they come over to your place?
Sean come over and made a plate for him and his mother.
Okay.
Yes.
That's nice. And you guys used to hang out a little bit, right? I mean, y'all used to smoke pot together and stuff on occasion?
Not you all. I don't smoke pot.
You don't smoke pot?
No, sir.
Okay. So if there's text that suggests that?
There's no text that suggests I smoke pot.
Okay. Your wife did then, right?
Yes, my wife smokes pot.
Maybe that's what I'm confused. I might be confusing those texts, so I
believe so.
apologize. I didn't.
I
mean to
moved
confuse
down here from Chicago to get straight with my life.
you. I got you. I didn't mean to accuse you. I apologize. I confused that. So talking about those apartments, we just had the, can we have that back up on the screen? May I approach, Joe?
Sure.
So we're going to look at, for the record, Exhibit 13 again. And you said that the way these are built, or the way these are designed, these are two-story, right?
Yes.
And these side ones are one-story.
Yes.
So there's no upstairs on these two ends, right?
No.
And I think that the DA asked you if you knew Kelsey Coons. Did he? Do you know who Kelsey Coons is? As a neighbor, where she lived?
Coons?
I think that's her name. Norwood. Kelsey Norwood.
Yeah. I don't know her personally.
You knew where she lived?
Yes.
And she lived here?
Yes.
Okay, and that's a one-story.
Yes.
So there would not be a bedroom wall that she shared with the upstairs bedroom
No.
of Sean, right?
No.
Because her bedroom would be on this side over here, wouldn't it?
I believe so. I don't know what the end apartments look like.
Right, but the point is, she didn't have an upstairs.
No.
Right. And you lived there with your wife and your two kids. How old were your kids at the time?
Sadie was little.
They had to both be pretty young.
Yeah.
kids.
Javi was in elementary school still. And Sadie was 2.
Okay, yeah, very young.
Yeah.
So did you know that Rebecca was a CNA?
Nope.
Never talked about that? Okay.
That would shock me.
She was, and she,
That's crazy.
yeah. So, did you know that she took care of elderly people?
Nope.
Okay. You know anything about her before she moved in with Sean?
Nope.
Okay. Sean had an elderly mother that lived there.
Yeah.
They've described it as she was basically hospice care, kind of elderly.
Yes.
Right? So it would make sense that while Sean was at work, maybe he wanted some help taking care of his elderly mother.
I don't know.
Don't know. But if his mother was at home on hospice care,
Before
Speculation.
Rebecca came, she would come out and
Objection to
walk the dog.
speculation.
okay. Whenever he came over, what he said to you when he came home, she was yelling out and said, Rebecca's leaving, right? Or I'm calling Sean?
Yeah.
Okay. And then he came home.
Yeah.
And when he addressed you, he basically said, you ruined my life.
Yeah.
Okay.
And because the girl that had been living with him and was there with his mother had just packed up and left, correct?
She did.
She did. Can I have just a second, Judge?
Yes, sir.
That's all I have, Judge.
Can you redirect the
Can I approach?
Sure.
What I'm showing you, Colt, has been marked for identification as Exhibit 14 and is labeled on the bottom as Google View, Exhibit number 14. And I want you to look at that exhibit and orient yourself. What is that Google image of?
This is the backside of Sean's apartment.
Okay. And this is a Google Street View, so to speak, of
Yeah.
the apartment?
Yeah.
And we would move this in, Judge, as Exhibit 14, and let him explain the layout.
Okay, 14 it is.
If you want to stand down again, can you?
We'll get my steps in today.
Okay, we're gonna show exhibit number 14. The defense asked you if there were any shared walls between the end units in your apartments. This is we're looking at 14, you said is Mr. Finnegan's apartment?
Yeah, this
Points for where his
that's
apartment
his
is.
back door.
Okay, and where is Kelsey Norwood's apartment?
This is her back door.
Okay, and do you see the roof line of her apartment where it extends to?
Yeah.
And where does it extend to?
This right here would be the back bedroom.
Okay, and where would the master bedroom be?
It'd be in the front.
Objection, I'm not sure if he's been in her apartment.
Or what floor?
I'll overrule because you're asking about it.
Sure.
Go ahead.
And so the roof line of Kelsey's apartment would be shared with what? What rooms in Mr. Finnegan's apartment?
It would be the big room in the front and then the back room here.
Okay, so both of the bedrooms?
Yes.
That's all I have.
All right.
Yes, you stay there. I don't want you to.
Oh, I appreciate that.
No problem, buddy. So, this is the fireplace,
Yep.
and the fireplace splits the living rooms, right? There's a living room on
Yes.
this side of the fireplace, there's a living room on that side of the fireplace. Her bedroom would have been over here, probably. Sean's bedroom would have been up here on this side.
It would be this side over here.
This side
On the
over
front of the
here,
house.
okay, on the front of the house.
Yes.
And so the living room splits here, and it's way over there, isn't it?
No, this is right here between these two windows
Uh-huh.
is the center wall for the
For the living
For
room
the
slash
rooms.
bedroom, for the rooms upstairs.
for the rooms, because this wall right here would divide the little room and the big room.
Okay. But downstairs, there's no wall right there, right? That the living room is open where the fireplace is?
Yeah.
Okay.
There's the wall that connects these two apartments
Right.
and the fireplace.
Okay. Living room, bedroom, space, right?
This is kitchen here. It'd be living room in the front of the house.
Living room, kitchen, bedroom.
No, it'd be living room. It's living room,
Okay.
kitchen.
Okay. All right. Got you. Thank you. Yeah, thank you.
Can you redirect? Okay, sir, you step down. Free to stand in the court. We're free to go.
What's that?
You can stay here or you can go.
Good.
Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you. So, ladies and gentlemen, it's 10:20, so what we'll do is we'll take our morning break. It'll be for about 20 minutes. We'll start back at 10:40. And you just leave your notebooks there, please.
Suggestion she's lying or being untruthful about something because she's escaping the death penalty in this case. And because of that, they're suggesting a recent fabrication. The Tennessee case law says that if that's done, if the person's credibility has been assailed like they did with her, and suggesting some sort of fabrication based on an event after a statement was made, we can then go into those prior consistent statements that she made at the time, and which very specifically she made to Mahogany Pico, that caused the disclosure of all of this, that caused Pico to become involved, that caused her to talk to Lieutenant Mansfield from the county department, then caused her to talk to Roy Hines and Marvell Moore with the city police of Oak Ridge, telling all of them.
So she's going to, so what you want her to do is, you want Mahogany to testify about the statements that Ms. Dishman made to her.
That's
Is that
correct.
right?
That's right.
Okay, so let's get her in here and hear what she's going to say.
Okay.
Judge, can we have a brief recess before we do
Yeah,
that?
5 minutes.
Thank you. She just needed to use Sarah had sent me.
to go back and get in her statement that says that she was consistent all along with all of the factors that we're alleging in this case.
So she's gonna say, so this lady's gonna say there was a torch used and there was a box cutter used?
No, she's going to say that her original statement to the police was consistent with her witness testimony, that in fact it was Sean Finnegan, that she witnessed him. He came home with this woman. He beat her with a baseball bat. They took her upstairs. They chained her to a bed. She took part in that, that he strangled her out within a few days, choked her with a shoestring, all of those factors that they're suggesting that this witness is lying about, because they said in opening statement she has completely reversed their roles.
And Judge, you just said it. I said it in opening statement. I didn't call her a liar a single time yesterday. I pointed out some inconsistencies in her statements, but I didn't call her a liar a single time. What they're trying to do is have her testify multiple times.
Well, let me hear from what this lady's gonna say. And then we'll go from there.
Your Honor, also just on the record, here's the best evidence, Judge. I mean, she's testified about all this stuff.
And I'll just let you ask whatever you want to ask, and then we'll.
Well, I'll just go right straight to what she was told when the disclosure about Mr. Finnegan's involvement.
Okay. If you'll step up here next to me, please. Just come on up here. If you'll raise your right hand, you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God. Thank you. If you'll have a seat right there, if you'll tell me both your first name and last name, it's important you speak up, because we all need to hear what your testimony is. Does that make sense to you?
Yes.
You may tell me your first name and last name and spell them both.
Mahogany Pico, MAHOGANYPEKOC.
So questions you want to ask in regard to, I guess, prior consistent statements by Ms. Dishman?
Yes, what Ms. Dishman told her on August 5th of
ahead.
2024. Ms. Pico, you transported Ms. Dishman to a shelter. The intent was to send her to, transfer her to a shelter in Claiborne County on August 5th, 2020.
Yes.
Okay. Tell the member, or tell the judge what it is that she disclosed along the way with regard to her involvement with Sean Finnegan and a body at her residence back on Fairview Avenue in Oak Ridge.
On the way, when I was taking her to go get order protection on the way to the safe house, it got quiet in the car, and she's like, "Mahogany, I need to tell you something." I was like, "Okay." And she was like, "Sean killed a girl." And I was like, "Okay, Becca, I didn't think it was true because it's Becca." And she looked at me and she started tearing. She goes, "I swear on my parents' graves."
That's what?
I swear on my parents' grave.
Okay.
And she started tearing up. And then I was like, okay, she's got to be telling the truth because she cared about her parents a lot. And we get to the gas station because I needed to get gas. And I stopped. I get out, pump gas, and I've got stuff going through my mind, like of what she just said. So I get back in the car and I'm like, "Becca, are you serious?" She's like, "Yes." And we're heading to the police station still, and she starts telling me things that had happened during the time that she was with Sean and stuff.
What'd you tell you?
Okay. Well, she said that he killed Jennifer, and at the time she didn't tell me her name, but I just know her name, and that she'd used shoestrings, a pair of shoestrings to choke her.
Okay. What else did she say?
That she'd gotten out of the shower one day and that he was masturbating to her corpse, and that he had cut her several parts of her body.
Take your time, okay?
And that her body was in a freezer in their closet.
And what else did she tell you?
She also told me that that Sean tried to was going to kidnap one of his friend's daughters, teenage daughter. They was getting ready to leave a buddy of his house, and he wanted Becca to get in the back seat. So when his daughter came out by the car, that Sean could throw her in the back of the car and Becca could hold her down to help kidnap her. But one of the men that was there at the house that they was visiting come out, and it didn't go through.
And what else did she tell you?
She said that Sean made her have oral sex with kids that they was babysitting, both of them, and that they was his babies.
Okay. And did she tell you anything else about what he did to her?
To Rebecca?
Yes.
Yes, that he would chain her up to a bed and brutally I'm sorry I had to say
That's
this.
okay.
Force adult toys in her body. And when he would be mad at her, he said that sometimes he would try to shove parts of Jennifer's body in her mouth.
Anything else that you remember?
No,
Okay. Anything else you wanted to testify to?
We're going to talk about a bunch of other stuff about the actual transport to Claiborne County with their testimony, but that's the only testimony that we're talking about for the purpose of being a prior consistent statement of Rebecca Dishman. In addition to what we talked about earlier, the 404A, what we believe is just rebuttal motive evidence that she should be allowed to testify to about the motive of Sean Finnegan, because he had a sexual desire to kidnap somebody and had articulated that in the past.
Okay, so what you're asking me to do is to let her testify about some kidnapping plan, and then all this other stuff that she told her driving down to the shelter, right?
I'm sorry,
You want her to testify about, I guess I don't understand what the fabrication is.
the fabrication is that they're alleging that Rebecca Dishman has falsified and switched their roles only because she's getting out of the death penalty.
That's defense, Judge. I mean, that's my argument.
Yeah, I don't. Okay. Anything else?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. You want to be heard on this? Why it shouldn't come? Why I shouldn't let it in?
Yes.
Stand up and tell me, please.
She's already testified to it. I didn't hear anything that she didn't already testify to. I'm allowed to cross-examine her and challenge her credibility. That's what cross-examination is. If I'm not allowed to present a defense or cross-examine people, or something's bad for the state, it doesn't mean they have a rule to get stuff in and get to double down. Her repeating they're just trying to, the police are going to try to get it into the police too. So, I mean, the whole point is just to keep repeating her story. It's not needed. It's repetitive, and it's hearsay, and it doesn't meet the legal requirement. And I never called her a liar or any other thing. Pointing out inconsistency in statements is a part of cross-examination. I just don't think it reaches any. She was here yesterday. And she was here yesterday. And if they want to clear it up, they can put her back on the stand. There's no reason for her to have to testify.
And I'll do that if that's the kid stuff.
But that's right. And the kid stuff is 404B stuff. The prior kidnapping, that's
It's not.
Your Honor, the state could say that we were not going to try to put in the evidence about the kids. That has already been litigated, and that was not going to
Right.
be elicited.
Okay. I'll come back in about 10 minutes. All right?
All right.
please. The state has asked for permission to introduce prior consistent statements of Ms. Dishman, and they want to do that through the next witness. The law in Tennessee, I think, is pretty clear. State v. Heron, 461 Southwest 3rd, 890. It says a witness's prior consistent statements generally are not admissible to bolster the testimony of a witness. Said, however, a defendant attacks a witness's credibility, the state may rehabilitate the witness by offering evidence of prior consistent statements. As such, the admission of prior consistent statements is authorized under two circumstances: one, where the statement is offered to rebut the implication that the witness's testimony is a recent fabrication, and two, when the deliberate falsehood has been implied. I'm going to find, first of all, that there, based upon my recollection of Ms. Dishman, there was not a recent fabrication. If she said she didn't remember something, she said she didn't. She said she'd never mentioned the torch before, never mentioned the box cars before, was honest, I think, that she did not disclose those actions to the police. And I don't think there was that the defense in regard that there was a deliberate falsehood, that saying that a deliberate falsehood's been implied. So I'm going to deny the introduction of that evidence, but we do have it on the record, so an appellate court can certainly look at that and see if I erred in that ruling. So,
Judge, with regard to our 404A request,
okay. So you're bringing the same stuff under 404A now?
no, just the kidnapping. In fact, that he.
I'm not going to bring up the kidnapping.
And 404A only applies to victims. She's
I
not.
know, I'm not going. I've already ruled on that before.
Under 404B, Judge,
404,
for the record.
404A, I'm not allowing it either. I think it's misleading. Under 403, I think, misleading, confusing to the jury, and simply cannot allow that to be introduced. Okay, so we're ready to get Ms. Mahogany to be our answer.
We are, Judge. Thank you.
All right, so if you get our jury, bring them in, please. No, it's not going to.
Is one of those his
Thank you. Have a seat, please. Ma'am, if you'll step up here next to me, please. You'll raise your right hand. Swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God. Thank you, ma'am. If you have a seat right here, if you'll tell us both your first name and last name and spell them both, and if you'll speak up to the microphone, they'll help all of us hear. All right? Thank you, ma'am. Go ahead.
Mahogany Pico, MAHOGANY PEKOC.
Perfect. Just a little louder for me, okay?
Okay.
Thank you. Questions? Go ahead. Joe.
Ms. Pico, do you live here in Anderson County, Tennessee?
Yes.
In Oak Ridge, as a matter of fact?
Yes.
And in 2019, 2020, did you live in Oak Ridge?
Yes.
Where did you live in Oak Ridge in 2020?
On Florida Avenue,
Okay, do you recall the specific address?
305 Florida Avenue.
305, who'd you live with?
My husband, Cole,
Okay, how long ago did you move out of there?
in 2020.
Okay. And how long had you lived there when you were back in 2020?
Since 2015, 2016.
Okay, several years.
Yes.
Were your children born there?
Yeah.
Not physically there, but were
Right.
your children born when you were living there?
Yes, my youngest,
Okay. And how many children do you have?
2.
We've already heard a little bit about the property there. If I can show you an exhibit. May I approach, Your Honor?
Yes,
Exhibit number 14. It's been previously admitted. Do you recognize what that is a photo of?
Yes.
And you see how Google is circled on the bottom of that? It's a Google, you're familiar with Google Street View?
Yes.
Do you recognize that particular building?
Yes.
And what's that building?
That is where Rebecca and Sean lived.
Okay. If we could display that while she's talking to us, Judge. That's Exhibit 14, so the jury can see that as well. Ms. Pico, the Exhibit number 14, we're looking at the building that you said that Sean Finnegan and Rebecca lived at.
Yes.
How many other people lived there? Let's talk about their unit first. How many people lived with them?
Also his mother.
Okay. And how old was his mother, if you know?
I do not know that. She was older.
70s, 80s?
70s, 80s.
Okay. And how long did you know Mr. Finnegan? Or do you recall when he moved in?
I can remember when he moved in, but not the exact time.
Okay. But you were there before him?
Yes.
And you were there before Rebecca Dishman?
Yes.
Did Rebecca Dishman come into that unit before or after Mr. Finnegan?
After Sean.
Okay. So Sean lived there with his mother, and then Rebecca came? Is that
Yes.
what you're saying? Okay. And describe, if you would, in Exhibit 14, how are these how are these buildings comprised, or how many tenants are in these buildings?
There's 4 units,
Okay.
and I don't understand.
How many tenants are in this? You said 4 units?
Mm-hmm.
Are they all alike?
Oh, yes. In that unit, yes.
All right. And are there different numbers of bedrooms, though, in the units?
Yes, the 2 on the end are single bedrooms.
Okay. And the 2 in the middle?
2 bedrooms.
And which did Sean Finnegan and Rebecca Dishman live in?
They lived in a 2-bedroom.
So if we're looking at this Exhibit 14, is it to the roadside or to the away from the roadside?
To the
2-bedroom.
roadside.
Okay. And where in relation to your apartment was that apartment that you just identified as them living in?
Straight across behind them.
Okay. So from this picture, this vantage, it's to our left from this picture's vantage point?
Yes.
Okay. But the unit exactly opposite?
Yes.
All right. And obviously, there's a driveway that we see there, so people are coming and going. And are you a person who pays attention to people coming and going, or are you a person that kind of sticks to yourself?
I pay attention.
You what?
I pay attention.
Okay. And as far as your husband is concerned, does he interact with neighbors and folks in that nature?
No.
Of that no. How come?
He likes to mind his business.
Okay. And do you follow suit?
No.
Okay. You involve yourself with friends? All right.
Yes.
Do you have friends in the neighborhood?
Mm-hmm.
And so your neighbors become your friends?
Yes.
All right. And did you at some point form a friendship with the defendant, Sean Finnegan, in this case?
I did.
Okay. Do you, I'll just ask straight out, do you enjoy smoking pot?
I do.
All right. And did you have a shared affinity for that with the defendant, Mr. Finnegan?
I did.
Okay. And so you have you engaged in that with him before?
Yes.
How many times would you say when he lived there and you lived there?
Several.
Okay. Several as in dozens, hundreds?
Dozens.
Dozens?
Hundreds.
Okay. And why was it that you sought him out for that purpose?
He was a neighbor.
Do you smoke in your house?
No,
Why do you not smoke in your house?
because my children.
And so what would you have to do to smoke do you smoke cigarettes as well?
Yes, I would go outside or over to Sean's.
Okay. Were there any other neighbors that you participated in that with?
Rebecca.
Okay. But specifically that apartment?
Correct.
So how much time would you say you've spent in that apartment? I'm turning your attention, of course, obviously to 2019 and 2020, when Sean and Rebecca were there together. How much time would you say you spent in the apartment?
Each time I went over, no more than 30 minutes.
Okay. And what would you do when you went there?
We would smoke, talk, joke.
Okay. Socialize?
Yes.
Is that fair to say? And would you consider yourself friends at the time with Sean Finnegan?
Yes.
Would you consider yourself friends at the time with Rebecca Dishman?
Yes.
Would you consider yourself friends at the time with Frances Finnegan?
Yes.
And how much interaction did you have with Frances Finnegan?
Just hi, bye, how are you? She would talk sometimes, you know. I would take her a flower or two. That's it.
Was Mrs. Finnegan, Frances Finnegan, that is, what was her physical condition?
She was elderly. She didn't get around well.
Okay.
She needed assistance in some things.
Do you know if she needed medication? I mean, were you aware of any of that?
I know that she needed medication. Sean told me that she had been on hospice, and from the time that she lived there to, you know, the last couple of months, her health had went down.
Okay. And so she was on some pretty powerful medications?
Yeah.
Were you aware of what they were?
No.
Okay. But pain medications?
Pain medication, yes.
And so you've told the jury that Sean moved in at some point, then Rebecca moved in. Do you recall when it was that Rebecca moved in?
I know, I think it was around October. It was about September, October.
In what year?
2019.
2019, before COVID?
Yes, before COVID.
Okay. And were you friends with, and did you interact with or socialize with Sean Finnegan prior to Rebecca moving into the neighborhood?
Yes, barely.
Okay. And what did you understand the nature of the relationship between Sean Finnegan and Rebecca was?
Boyfriend, girlfriend.
Okay. Do you know how long they dated prior to Rebecca moving there?
No.
Would you have interaction when you went over, either socially or to smoke with them? Would you have interaction with both, one, or which one more predominantly?
Both of them. There was at times to be one or the other.
Okay. And you knew in that capacity, you got to know Rebecca?
Mm-hmm.
Did Rebecca drive?
No, she did.
How would she get places?
Sean would take her.
Okay. Did you ever provide transportation for her?
She would ride along with me to places, to the store and stuff.
Like what kind of places?
The grocery store.
Okay. Did you ever provide Sean that kind of rides or things like that?
There was one when I first started talking to him. I seen him walking, and I was like, "Hey, that's my neighbor that recently moved in. Let me see if he needs a ride."
Okay, so you
I gave him a ride.
Okay.
And dropped him off.
Well, what was your understanding of the vehicle situation there at the house?
His car had broken down at the time.
Okay. Did Rebecca know how to drive?
She says she did, but I'm not sure if she did. She had a vehicle, but she never drove it.
Okay.
I never seen her drive it. I never seen her behind the wheel.
Okay. So in terms of your seeing and then being able to evaluate their relationship, how many hours would you say you've spent with them in the time that you were living there prior to August 5th of 2020?
I'm not sure how to answer
Would you
that.
say a lot? Or
Yeah,
is
a
it
lot of hours, yeah,
Okay.
there we go.
So did you have an opinion of Rebecca based on your interaction with her about her affect or her demeanor or her person, what she was like?
Yes.
Tell the members of the jury, what was Rebecca Dishman like?
Rebecca is more, she goes about doing things slower. She don't really understand stuff unless you really have to explain it to her.
Okay.
She's more like one of my children.
What role did you play in that relationship, do you think?
Judge, I'm going to object it. I think that you're bolstering the witness at this point.
All over the room. Go ahead.
What role did you play in that relationship with Rebecca? What role did you see yourself as?
Like big sister, mother.
Turning your attention to Halloween, did you have a specific interaction with Rebecca on Halloween?
Yes, I took her trick-or-treating.
Okay. And with regard to her, when you were talking about her person, is there something happened on Halloween that would have you understand her a little better?
She dressed up on Halloween.
And what did she do when she dressed up on Halloween?
She went trick-or-treating.
Objection.
How so?
What's the relevance of this?
Her childlike demeanor, Judge.
Yeah, I think you've made the point. I'll sustain the objection. Next question.
Did you get to a point with Rebecca in your relationship, looking from the beginning to the end, where things were changing in terms of her relationship with Sean that caused you concern?
Yes, she was coming over with bruises and
Okay. In terms of that, you told the jury you think October of 2019, and we know August 5th of 2020. In that 9, 11 months, 10 months, not sure if I'm calculating that right, but in that time frame between when she moved in and when things happened with her, when did you start noticing those types of things, that she'd come over with bruises and things like that?
by that November, she was starting to come over more with the bruises and stuff by November.
So within months of her moving in?
Yes.
And what did you personally observe between them with regard to their relationship in terms of who was in charge?
That
Objection, it's asking for her to speculate and give an opinion.
What did she observe?
Right. I'll overrule. I think she can tell me what her observation is.
well, seeing from the bruises and stuff on her body and stuff, seeing that,
Objection, now she's
I didn't hear you. What you saying?
seeing the bruises.
Yeah,
and-
I'll sustain the objection. The question was, what did you observe about their relationship?
About their relationship and who led the relationship?
I seen Sean as the leader.
Okay. And how so? What did you observe that made you conclude that?
Him being controlling, he would tell her if she could use my phone or not.
Okay. Other things that he would tell her? What were
If she
what were the other
couldn't
things?
come back to my house, if I continued to let her use my phone.
Okay. And so there was an issue, obviously, with your phone?
Yes.
What was the situation with regard to the phone, to Rebecca having access to a phone? Tell the members of the jury that.
She would get on Facebook and talk to her friends, and he didn't like that at all.
Okay.
Any male friends, for
Objection.
sure.
Objection, no, I'd like to ask, what's the basis of her knowledge of that? I think it's hearsay, Judge.
Okay, I'll sustain, but you're going to lay the foundation about how she would know that.
Did you hear Sean telling her things about her phone use and her access to you and things of that nature?
He told me personally not to let her use my phone anymore, or she cannot come over.
That he was forbidding that?
Yes.
And you said that at some point, though, you lent her a phone?
Yes,
Okay. What were the circumstances for you lending her a phone?
so she could talk with her friends on Messenger.
Was that before or after he would say, don't let her come over, don't let her use phones?
That was after, so she would still have way to talk.
Okay. So you were not listening to what he was saying?
Right.
Why?
I just felt he was being too controlling to her.
Okay.
And her being the way she was, I wanted to help her.
Her being the way she was, I wanted to help her. Go ahead and tell the member of the jury, her being the way she was, what do you mean by that?
I think we're back down the same path we were a second ago.
I'll overrule. You can answer that.
Her being in her childlike mind, she would just bow down to him instead of somebody being an adult, be like, I can do this still. It's just him saying stuff to me.
Okay. And so you would intervene that way?
Yes.
And who was it that she was trying to contact on Facebook or on your phone?
Ramesses,
Okay. Who's Ramesses?
an ex-boyfriend, fiance.
Okay. And would she also use your phone to contact the defendant, if you know?
Yes.
Okay. Because at the time, were you aware where he worked?
I know he worked somewhere in Knoxville at a bar.
Okay. And do you know what he did there?
Cook.
Okay. And the defendant, of course, had a phone,
Yes.
and he had a vehicle?
Yes.
You already told us? Okay. And so, with regard to the communication with the defendant, how would your borrowed phone be used in a manner to communicate with him, if you know?
She would text him.
Okay. Do you recall when you lent the phone out to her?
Anytime that I would smoke with her, she would use my phone.
Okay. So you would go over and lend her your phone, and she would do things on your phone?
Yeah.
Did your phone have service, or was it Wi-Fi?
Both.
Okay. And so what kinds of services would you allow her to use on your phone?
I just gave her my phone. She just wanted to use it.
Was it an extra phone, or just, or?
One was an extra phone, yes.
Okay. So were there times when you would leave the phone with her?
Yes.
And so there are, do you recall when that began?
No.
When you would have lent that to her?
I just, off and on.
Do you recall when it ended?
Yes, that day that I took her.
What day?
On August 5th.
Okay. And with regard to the communications that she was making on that phone, were you aware of the nature of them?
No.
Are you aware now?
Yes.
If I could, Judge, Exhibit 1 for identification, and may I approach? May I approach? Ms. Pico, what I'm handing you has been marked, I'm going to take away Exhibit 14. What I'm handing you has been marked for identification as Exhibit number 1. Can you just leaf through that and tell us that's a 100 and, how many pages document?
115.
Okay. And you have, previous to trial, you and I have met, and General Keith, Agent Hannon, and you've seen that document before, is that right?
Yes.
How is it that you know you've seen that document before?
Because I went through and read every one of them.
Okay. And in the upper right-hand corner of each page, right-hand corner, or where, is there a notation on there that shows you that you've reviewed that document?
Yes.
And what is that notation?
It's my initials.
You personally initialed that document, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And are those, what do those appear to be?
Text messages back and forth.
Okay. And have you gone through that document and verified which were in fact you typing the keys versus somebody else?
Yes.
Okay. And do you know who those transmissions are to or where they're from?
Yes.
Okay. And whose phone was your phone contacting in those 100 and some odd pages?
Sean.
Okay. Sean Finnegan, the defendant.
Yes.
Okay. And when is the first transmission in that report?
November the 2nd, 2019.
Okay. And when is the last?
February 27th, 2020.
Okay.
Oh, no, sorry. February the 28th of 2020.
Okay. And so, with regard to that document, you read through every single text, and did you identify the ones that are yours?
Yes.
And how did you note that on the exhibit?
I initialed it.
Okay. Approach again, Judge. Sure. So, you initialed the page, and then as you go through,
Yep, I highlighted.
highlighted, and the ones that are not highlighted, who had your phone when those were being sent?
Becca.
Okay. So right here, we have MSP highlighted, right? And the highlighted texts in here are all you, and the unhighlighted ones are Becca.
Yes.
Okay. And so, for example, on the first page, we'll do the first text here. We'll read this, okay? Yes, Daddy, I want it very much. I want to drool all over it and choke on it like a dirty little slut does for his master. Okay? On November 2nd of 2019. Did you send that text?
No.
And we know that because it's unhighlighted.
Correct.
Who sent that text?
Rebecca.
Okay. And you've reviewed this entire document?
Yes.
We're going to leave it as identification until we get to the report. Okay. And you read a bunch of messages like that, right?
Yes.
And when you got your phone received back, whenever you let her do that, were those messages on your phone?
No.
Okay. So you weren't aware of that kind of talk being done through your phone?
No.
Oh, okay. During the time that the defendant was there living with Rebecca, obviously you said you know your neighbors, right? And you know what's going on in the neighborhood. I'm going to ask you a few more names. Phoenix. You know a female named Phoenix?
Yes.
And who was Phoenix?
She had come along, I'm guessing, from the bar as well, and she had stayed with Sean and Rebecca.
Did you,
I'll also rule, you can answer.
let me just lay the foundation for this. While the time that Rebecca was living there, did multiple girls come and stay at the house at different times?
Yes.
Okay. And would stay overnight?
Yes.
With the defendant?
Yes.
And Rebecca?
Yes.
And Miss Finnegan?
Yes.
Frances Finnegan?
Yes.
And Phoenix? Were you aware when Phoenix came?
Yes.
How long did Phoenix stay?
I think just a month.
Okay. Was that, do you recall what time frame that was?
Around Halloween.
Okay. Tasha Perry, did you, you know Tasha Perry?
I only seen her in and out of the car. I never got to meet her personally.
Okay. But did she come and stay?
Yes.
How long she come and stay?
Couple of weeks.
And Sarah?
Sarah was in and out all the time.
Okay. That's Sarah with the two little kids?
Yes.
And how about Jennifer?
I never seen Jennifer.
Okay. And we're talking about Jennifer Paxton, just to be clear. You never saw her?
I never saw her.
Okay. But you did at some point in your conversations with the defendant and your observations of their apartment, you obviously went into the living room.
Yes.
Was there a point in time where you observed a freezer in the living room?
Yes.
Do you recall when that occurred? Well, let me back up a little bit. A freezer in the living room, was that unusual to you?
Yes.
Yes, it drew your attention?
Yeah.
Okay. Was it a new freezer or an old freezer?
It was new.
Okay. And did you inquire of the defendant, why do you have a freezer in your living room?
Yes.
And what did he say?
My landlord had it ordered to the wrong apartments. And I was like, okay, I get it, I understand that. So he's let it sit there until he come and got it.
Okay. And how long did that freezer stay in the living room, to your knowledge?
The next time I went over, it was gone, so I figured the landlord came and got it.
And so it was never discussed again?
No.
Were you present when the freezer arrived?
Yes.
Okay. Did you ever see it? Did you see it? Where did you first see it when it arrived?
On the dolly?
Okay. Did you see it being delivered, I guess?
Yes.
Okay.
She's
where-
asking questions back to the DA.
I'm sorry, I'll sustain.
Sorry.
I think, yes. When were you present when the freezer was delivered?
Yes.
Okay. And do you know what company or who?
I didn't pay attention.
Okay. But the time frame between the delivery of the freezer and your conversation with him about it being a landlord mistake, and it you seeing it in the living room, how long did that take? How many, was it days, weeks?
A couple of days.
Okay. So the time frame from delivery to the time frame it's in the living room and gone, and that's a matter of days?
Yes.
Okay. At some point, during your interaction with Rebecca, at some point you become concerned. And tell us what it is that causes you to be concerned about Rebecca's welfare.
I seen her again, and she had a black eye, and her glasses were broke because he had hit her in the face.
And what was your complaint?
Objection to he hit her in the face. I don't know if she saw that or not.
I'll sustain that.
I
Don't
didn't see
disregard that must be a proof that she saw that. Okay, go ahead.
Did you see how she got the black eye?
No, I didn't.
Okay. But based on a conversation with her, what did you do?
I wanted to get her help,
Okay. How so?
get her out of there.
Did you confide that in anybody in your own residence?
Yes, my husband.
Okay. What was his reaction?
He didn't want to help, but he did because I wasn't giving up.
Okay. And with regard to wanting to help and assist, what were you going to do? What was your plan for what you were going to do to get her help?
Find a woman's shelter.
Okay. Did you do anything prior to that with regard to her family? Trying to locate anybody?
Yes.
Okay. Tell the members of the jury, what efforts did you make before we get to the shelter? What efforts did you make as far as communication?
Objection relevance.
I'll overrule. Go ahead, you can answer.
Okay. I try to contact her family members on Facebook.
Okay. How many family members did you try and contact?
2.
And were you successful, or did you get any response?
No response from any of them.
Okay. And so after that, what was your next plan?
Woman's abuse shelter.
Why?
because she was,
Objection to what was happening. She only knows what she was told.
I'll sustain.
because what I seen,
Let's let him ask another question. Next question.
What did you see that caused you to ramp from, I gotta contact family, to, I gotta get her to a shelter?
each time I seen her, she was having more bruises.
Okay. And you physically saw those on her?
Yes.
And so, at some point, we turn your attention to August 5th of 2020. You recall that day, of course. What were you doing on that date?
It was started out a normal day.
Did you did you speak with your husband that day, obviously, about the issue?
I did.
Okay. Was there any developments or things that changed on that day?
Yes, he found a woman that would take in Becca,
Okay. And where was that going to be?
Claiborne County.
Why'd you have to go out there?
That's the only one we could find, first one.
Okay. So, only one you could find, meaning you looked in other places?
The number that he had looked for other places, yes.
But this just happened to be one that you could find?
That
or-
they answered and said, yes, we have a spot for her.
Okay. And so on that date, you said you arranged, what was going to be the plan for how this was going to happen, getting her out of there, so to speak?
That I was going to borrow a buddy of ours' car and I was going to drive her
Okay.
to the police station first to do
And
an order.
did you communicate that with somebody from the shelter, or how was that?
Yes, but they had to hear it from Becca's mouth, so Becca got on the phone with them.
Did you witness that conversation?
Yes, on Becca's side, yes.
Okay. And based on that, what did you do?
I took Becca. I took her.
Okay. Prior to doing that, did you prepare for her leaving?
Yes, I helped her get her bags together.
Okay. Where did you go to do that?
Over to the apartments, over to her house.
Okay. And where in her house did you go?
Upstairs to the second floor.
Okay. And with regard to the clothing, where did you find and get and retrieve her clothing?
Out of the drawers.
What about the closet?
Didn't pay no attention to it.
And how much clothing did you get for her?
We got 4 garbage bags and 2 tote bags.
Okay. Where was Miss Finnegan when this was happening?
She was upstairs in her room.
Did you have any interaction with her?
Yes, when I first come in, she asked, you know,
And your objection to what?
Objection to hearsay.
Okay. You can't tell me what she told you, okay?
You did have a conversation with her?
yes.
Yes. The answer is yes?
Yes.
You had a conversation with her? Yes. And was she in a position where she could see what was happening?
Yes, her window faced the driveway.
Okay. And you got garbage bags?
Yeah.
And Becca? And along the way, you went to Claiborne County?
Yes.
Okay, describe for the jury what happened when you get to Claiborne County.
Over at the jailhouse.
Yes.
We get there and we're waiting on the lady from the women abuse shelter. We're supposed to meet her there so we can get an order of protection, and then she would go with Rebecca to the women abuse shelter, but she never showed.
Okay.
So when we got there, we tried to contact an officer at that building to let them know what was going on. And they said that we needed to call 911, that they couldn't let anybody in the building because of COVID.
And why is it, Mahogany, tell the members of the jury, why is it that you're, that today's the day that you're bringing her to a shelter?
Because she was done.
Okay. What did you feel like was going to happen if you didn't?
She'd be hurt really bad.
Speculation.
All sustained,
It's her motivation, Judge, to.
still speculation. I appreciate the motivation, but still speculation.
Yes, sir. And so along the way, did you and Rebecca talk?
Yes.
Did that conversation cause you to abandon the plan that you had to bring her to a shelter?
No, because I was already going to the police station.
Okay. But was something said that caused you to turn
Judge
around?
asked and answered.
What did you do?
I'll overrule.
Did something happen to cause you to turn around and come back to town?
Oh, yes.
Okay. And was that based on a conversation you had?
Yes.
And not with what was said, but did you, in response to that, call somebody?
Yes.
Who did you call?
The police.
Okay. And what about your husband? Did you call him too?
Yes, I called my husband.
And so you arrived, what were you directed or what were you supposed to be doing at that point once you called your husband and the police based on a conversation that you had?
To go back to Anderson County.
Right here in Clinton?
The jailhouse.
Okay.
And then from there, we come here.
Okay, so you went out to the river
Yes.
to where the Anderson County Jail is first?
Yes.
And did you speak to people there?
Yes.
And what did you do next?
We come right over here.
Okay. And were you present when, or rather, did you speak with the police there? Or did you come directly here after going there?
We were directed to come here.
Okay. Who did you meet when you got here?
A detective.
And what were the circumstances of how Rebecca, she was riding with you, or how, tell us?
She was riding with me until we got here, and then she went over into the detective's car.
Okay.
And from here, we went to Oak Ridge.
And were you
Police
present
Department.
when Rebecca and the detective were first interchanging?
I'm sorry?
Were you present when they were first interacting,
Yes.
her and the detective?
Yes.
And he eventually took her?
Yes.
Okay. What did you do from that point?
I was told to follow him.
And did you in fact follow him?
Yes.
Where to?
To the Oak Ridge Police Department.
And who did you speak to there?
Several police officers.
Okay. And did you eventually give a statement?
Yes, the following day, I believe.
Okay. About the things that we're talking about today?
Yes.
The Sean Finnegan that we're talking about, is he seated here in the courtroom?
Yes.
And that refrigerator that you saw in the apartment the few days that you said you told the jury about that, was that scooted against the wall?
Yes.
That's nice.
Any cross-examination?
Morning.
Fine.
So you met Sean before you met Rebecca?
Yes.
And they were living there for a little while before she got there, right?
Yes.
Okay. And you guys smoke pot together, get away from the house and the kids every once in a while, right?
Yeah, just get out.
Yeah. And so you'd say you guys hung out for maybe over a year, going back and forth to the apartment, right? And while Becca lived there, she would go with you to the store and different things. You said she rode with you to the store?
Yeah, 2 times.
Okay.
And all.
But she would come over and borrow your phone?
Yes,
Okay. And you said that you didn't realize that when she was texting, you didn't realize what she was texting. Y'all were smoking pot or whatever, right? And you didn't watch
I just
her.
let her use my phone.
You just let her use it. But you've seen them since, right?
Yes,
And you read all those texts, didn't you? And you were kind of surprised by them, weren't you?
yes,
Because she was texting a whole bunch of sexual stuff to him, wasn't she?
yes.
Yeah. And you didn't know she was doing that, did you?
No,
And you didn't know that at the time that you took her to the shelter, any of that? You didn't know any of that at the time, did you?
the text.
The text, you didn't know that she was texting him while he was at work, all this sexting and all this stuff. You had no idea what she was doing with that, right?
No.
Okay. Because she was smart enough to delete them before she gave the phone back, right?
Yes,
Okay. And who she was trying to contact on Facebook was an ex-fiance, Ramses, right?
yes,
So whenever Sean was kind of saying, don't let her use Facebook, maybe because she was contacting her ex-fiance, Ramses, right?
yes,
Okay. And through this whole time, you guys still continued to hang out, and you guys, I think y'all spent Thanksgiving together,
yes.
right? And you never called the police during this time because you weren't really fearful that there was anything going on there.
Each time that she come over, at that time, there was an emergency happening then. It didn't happen just then. It had happened before.
Right, because she told you that, right?
Yes.
You didn't see it happen, she told
No,
you.
I didn't see any of that happen.
Right. So you only know what she told you.
Correct.
Okay. So everything that you know about the relationship between her and Sean is basically what she told you, because you didn't even see the text she was texting to him, right?
Right.
So your only impression of their relationship is based on what she told you, right?
Yes.
And that day that y'all left, on that August 5th day, that's the day that she came and said, today's the day, right?
Yes, but I have witnessed him talking to her badly,
Mm-hmm.
personally, myself.
Okay. But that was the day that she chose, today's the day, right? To leave on that August 5th? That was the day that she was ready to go?
I said, this is the day I can help you if you want out, and she wanted out, so I was like, let me help.
Okay. She wanted out. She wanted out of away from that house, right?
Away from him, yes,
She said she wanted to be away from him.
yes,
Okay. And you said that you kind of had the sort of a big sister, sort of motherly sort of role with her, right? And
Yeah.
Because she would give you the impression that she needed help with a lot of stuff, right?
yes.
She didn't work.
No, she didn't.
You knew that she was a CNA before, didn't you?
Yeah, she had told me that she had tried to do that work, yes.
Okay. And for a couple of years, I think is what she said. right?
Yes,
Okay. You knew that, did she tell you that she'd been kicked out of multiple homes that she lived in?
I knew that she had trouble on and off through her homes, yes.
Okay. And you said that Sean was in the habit of kind of letting people crash at his place, it sounded like. He would give people a place to stay every once in a while, right?
Yes,
Yeah. And he'd share what he had.
yes,
He took care of his mother.
yes.
And before Rebecca Dishman got there, you didn't have any issues with him at all, did you?
No,
Now, you mentioned something about seeing her with a black eye and glasses, but that's when she came over, she had a black eye and broken glasses, right?
Yes.
And she told you what happened.
yes, she told me what happened.
You didn't see it.
No, I did not see it.
And she was able to get on Facebook and stuff on your phone, right?
Yes,
And use those apps to contact people,
yes,
okay? She had a car.
yes.
She wasn't locked in that house, was she?
No,
I mean, she came over when she wanted
she
to come
came
over.
over, yeah. If she was
Josh.
allowed,
I'm sorry.
sorry.
No, go ahead.
If she was allowed, yes, she come over.
If she was allowed, but that's, you say if she was allowed because that's what she told you, right?
Yes, or if Sean had told me not to let her come over,
Because she was Facebooking her ex-boyfriend.
or he didn't want her over.
Well, you don't know what was in his head though, right?
Right,
Okay. So basically, you see her with these bruises, but you didn't take her to a shelter during that time,
No,
or call the police.
no,
And this was over a period of months.
yes,
And so as our mother and big sister, you didn't think there was anything going on enough to call the police or any, during that time, everything seemed fine, right?
well, no,
But it wasn't enough to call the police.
well, I wanted to, but my husband told me to stay in my own business.
But you don't, your husband, you're different than your husband though, right?
Yes,
I mean, you're completely different. You've already kind of acknowledged that, right?
Yeah.
He's a stay-at-home, stay-out-of-business. That's not you, right?
right,
But for the 3 months, 3, 4 months, 5 months, these bruises and stuff, and she's telling you what's happening, right? But it wasn't to a level where you thought something had to happen at that moment, right?
right, because some of it was sexual.
Right, right. And so people that have rough sex sometimes have bruises.
Correct.
Yeah. And you moved out of there in 2020. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. Can I have just a second, Judge?
Yes, sir.
That's all, Judge.
Thank you. Can you recall?
You told us a little bit about Rebecca's persona, so to speak, and a childlike demeanor and your mother relationship with her. Tell the members of the jury about Rebecca in terms of just the honesty and her ability to
Objection,
speak
Judge,
to people.
Objection, he's just bolstering his witness again and repeating the same thing she's
No,
already
it's
said.
character for honesty. I guess you can tell.
Overruled, you can answer.
I'm going to ask about her demeanor and her person and her persona, who she was, the type of person she was. Did she talk to you about things in an open manner?
Yes, she did.
Did Rebecca have the ability, based on what you know her as, to filter things?
No,
Did Rebecca have the ability to lie?
no,
What is her character for? What do you
Objection,
believe
Judge.
that your-
I'll
which-
sustain that.
What's your opinion of her honesty?
Objection, Judge. I mean, I think it's the same question asked a
I'll
different way.
sustain that objection. Any other questions?
You said that she had, that Rebecca needed help, and there was sexual, things that were sexual in nature, right? Tell the members of the jury, what is it that concerned you about that? What was she, what particularly concerned you about that?
Judge, we might need to approach her on this. I'm not sure what her answer's going to be.
He asked the question, now I'm following up.
Okay, let's go to lunch, what do y'all think? So, y'all come back at 1:15. We'll start back at that time.
All rise. Jury, follow me.
Thank you, have a seat. You can once they close the door, you can re-ask your question. Let's see what the answer's gonna be.
On cross-examination, he, during the line of questioning about what your concern was, and you talked about not only the bruises and whatnot, but you said there was also, essentially, you were alluding to abuse of a sexual nature between the two?
Judge, that's not what she testified to. I'm going to object.
I don't have a jury, so I'm
Okay,
letting them
I'm
ask the
sorry.
question. So go ahead.
Did you testify that there was also things of a sexual nature that were going on abuse-wise in that household?
yes,
Okay. tell the judge what it is that you knew was happening that caused you so concern that you tried to reach out to relatives and you tried to take her to a shelter.
Forcing, I'm so sorry.
What?
Forcing sex toys inside of her.
Right, you
and-
told me that earlier.
Yes,
And you
and
told me
then,
she told you that when y'all were driving.
yes, yes. and
before
then
that?
Oh, okay, and then choking.
And did she tell you that when y'all were driving?
No,
She told you that before.
yes, when before,
So she told you in the past that.
but it was sexually.
Okay, when did she tell you that?
I
She
don't,
told you they were having sex and he was choking her.
yes, maybe.
Huh?
Yes,
Okay. Okay. Anything else you want to ask her?
For that particular issue, no.
Okay. Are there other issues you want to ask her?
I just wanted to explore that with her, Judge, because she said that
So-
came out across.
So, tell me how that comes in. She's gonna say that Ms. Dishman told me that Mr. Finnegan was choking her during sex. How's that come in?
Because he's raping her and having sex with her in a way that caused her so much concern that she's going to run her out of county to explain the completion. It is Rebecca Dishman telling those things that aren't the truth of the matter, whether or not, because she doesn't know if she's being raped. It's her concern and why she acted and reacted the way she did.
Okay, I understand. And then what's your objection to that?
It's a characterization of her testimony. It's still hearsay, and he's trying to introduce some kind of prior bad act, once again, some kind of rape or something alleging rape that she never even alleged. She already testified that they had kinky sex. I mean, Rebecca Dishman had kinky sex. What her testimony was that she had bruises related to
Well, that already came in.
sex. That's right, and that's fine. But he's trying to conflate that to rape.
That's not what he's doing. What he's saying is that she's saying that I think that she is saying that he choked her during sex.
Right, which is a sexual act.
Right. And so I guess what's your objection to that coming in?
Right, she's speculating, and he's trying to characterize it, whether it's for pleasure or whether it was for fear.
Whatever it was.
Right, and so, but they're introducing it to suggest that it's abuse. And there's no evidence that him choking anybody during sex or whatever would even be abuse. It's a sex act. Ms. Dishman already admitted to rough sex or kinky sex and all these other things. So she's basically making a judgment call on choking during sex.
I think you need to
Through this witness.
I think you need to rethink that.
No, I mean,
I think you got I think it was a legitimate objection to this, but we're getting the feel there. So what we'll do is we'll come back at 1:15. We'll put her back up here before the jury comes in, and then I'll let y'all state your objections again, then I'll rule on it. Okay?
Thank you.
1:15.
Thank you, Judge.
Thank you.